Welcome to a new week, everybody, and welcome to this week's What's Up Wednesday. I have a question for you. How often have you been in a disagreement or a discussion with a coworker, maybe a family member, a friend, and you find yourself wanting to speak, waiting your turn to speak? How often does that happen? I can speculate on what your answer might be, but I can think of situations where somebody's going on and on about an issue, and you're sitting there, I'm sitting there tapping my foot on the ground, maybe even looking at your watch, waiting for them to finish up so that you can get a word in, you can get your point across. I think that's natural human tendency to want to participate and or take a very strong position in a conversation like that. And again, it doesn't always have to be a disagreement, but it's very common in that circumstance. So I think we've all been there, and it is our default setting in any relationship where we think the worst way to approach conflict is by keeping silent, so to speak. We're waiting to speak, and by doing that, we may not be listening. And that's the key point. It's really hard and it takes a lot of discipline when you want to solve, naturally, we want to solve a problem. And we feel like we need to speak, where the power of listening and maybe even taking notes. Take notes as the person's talking. So if you do want to speak, you can make a note on a topic or a point that you want to go back on. Now, there's a PhD named Dr. Julie Gerner, and she's a coach who works with some of the most powerful and high-performing leaders in the world. And her model for conflict resolution really focuses on a shift from conflict to more collaboration. And I think that's kind of a shift from me versus you type of a position, which is very confrontational. You're waiting to speak, you want to get your word in, and we're shifting towards an us versus maybe a common problem, a common enemy. And that's a different position. It's very collaborative. We're listening to understand, we're working together. And I think that when we listen to understand, it allows us to work against a common enemy. And again, much of the time that is just a problem that we're dealing with, we're trying to solve. Could be another person, could be something that broke, something that went wrong, whatever it may be. But I would say that, the next time that you find yourself in some kind of a conflict or relationship conflict, give it that approach. Say, can you hang on just a second? Take out your notepad, say, I'm going to take some notes. And then approach it from that listen to understand, seek to understand, come in with curiosity, and then immediately kind of set the tone that I want to work with you to solve this problem. And, approach it very, very collaboratively. I think what you're doing is you're really resetting the bar or the plane that you're going to work upon, and you're going to approach it differently. And I think that if the other person, or maybe it's more than one person, it could be a group of people, are really heated, elevated, excited, energized, whatever the word you want for it, approaching it this way may bring them down a notch and allow you to get to a point where you can have a really constructive conversation to approach the issue or the problem and be able to solve it effectively. So I hope that little tip helps. This is something that was sent to me this week by Miss Taylor here at ISS, and I thought it was a great topic. So figured that we would touch base on it, and we'll come up with another topic and see you next Wednesday.